What you are currently looking at is the first glimpse of this year's Blitzfair tank, the STRV K. It is the hull of a Kron and the turret of a Centurion Mark 5-1. It's honestly kind of funny because maybe a year ago, my friend and I made a meme about this tank and created it as a meme video on the channel, and now it's actually becoming a tier 10 vehicle. I like to call it the Kroncept 1B because it's a hull-down tank with the hull of a Kron and pretty dang good turret armor. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking into everything you need to know about the tank. We got the statistics and everything else. And one other thing I want to point out, this is going to be this year's Blitzfair tank. I'm 99% sure. The only other tank that could possibly take that slot is the CDC 45 ton. But I have two possibilities for the 45 ton to why it won't be the Blitzfair vehicle. First of all, Wargaming released a coming soon video, and the vehicle's in the coming soon video. So if you want my opinion, I think the CDC 45 ton has a pretty high possibility of being released within the next maybe month or so. And the second thing I will say about the CDC 45 ton is it seems like Wargaming's doing the same charade they did last year with the Kampfpanzer 50 ton. If any of you remember, everybody thought the KPZ 50 ton was going to be the tier 10 Blitzfair tank. And then Wargaming swept the concept right underneath the rug at the last 2 months before the Blitzfair. Nobody thought it was possible that it was going to be the tank because how could they possibly test a vehicle in only 2 months? Well, it seems that the concept was brought into the game. And that's exactly what we're probably going to see for the STRV K as well. Wargaming's trying to, as quickly as possible, bring this tank into the game under wraps so people don't know a lot about it. So when it's released, it's this whole big shock and, you know, they get a lot of fast money spending. But that's why I'm here to inform you on the vehicle. So, basically, I'm quite confident that this is going to be the Blitzfair tank, especially because my data miner says it is. So just take that word that this will most likely be the tank you're going to be seeing under your Christmas tree. Let's make our way to the statistics of this tank, see what's good and what is bad. So let's start off with hit points, 2438. Not a lot, and by the way, that is with this tank fully equipped running hit points, as you can see. So it doesn't have a lot of hit points. However, I should point out that you are able to run sandbag armor on this vehicle, raising it by an extra 100 and I think 60 hit points or something around there. So you're actually going to be sitting at around 2570 hit points around that spot if you're running sandbag armor, which I'd suggest to do. So while it doesn't have a lot of HP on paper, it actually is going to have a pretty decent chunk. When we take a look at the turret armor, it's the same as the Centurion Mark 5-1 at 252. Also the same as the armor profile I'm going to be showing you in maybe 2 minutes or so. So we'll break into the armor in a moment. Don't worry about that right now. When it comes to concealment, it actually looks pretty good on paper here, but I don't trust the Blitz statistics of concealment because they're never ever right. So we'll take a look at concealment later as well when the full statistics are out on Blitz stars. But the main thing we want to take a look at is the gun, because the gun can make or break a vehicle. So it's got really good DPM, 2829. That's pretty dang good, especially because this is with calibrated shells, as you'll notice. So if you're running gun rammer on this tank, you're actually going to be sitting upwards of a really solid 3000 DPM. I wouldn't suggest to run gun rammer on this type of tank because its premium pen is really bad if you're not running Cali. It's going to be about 310 millimeters, which is, yeah, it's not going to be great premium pen, but it's very similar to a Chieftain Mark 6 penetration value. It's enough to cut through an E100 turret on flat ground, but that's about as far as you're going to get. Apart from that, good luck. So penetration is good on standard, mid on premium, and ooh, not great at all on the high explosive, and that's because, well, yeah, it's a 350 alpha. This is a heavy, I should point out. It's not a medium. So it's carrying a medium gun, 350 alpha, medium levels like the AMX-30B of DPM. So, yeah, a bit interesting. I was very surprised to see it having 350 alpha. I was really expecting like a 400, something around that area, maybe similar to the Concept 1B, but no, Wargaming's really going in on this alpha. So basically, it's going to have a really fast rate of fire, as you can see, a 7.42 second reload, but its sacrifice is that it doesn't really have the biggest alpha. So I guess it'll be really good at just peppering your opponents, but not very good at trading shots with high alpha tanks like the 60, VK72, E100, stuff like that, especially dealing with tank destroyers. When it comes to your aiming time, pretty dang good, especially because we're not even running the aiming time equipment. You can probably get it down to about 2.8, 2.7 seconds. And the dispersion as well, as you can see, without even running refined gun, is 0.317, pretty dang accurate. So while it does sacrifice that alpha, it makes up in dispersion, aiming time, and it still has really good DPM. So not too bad. I can also say for a fact that the shell velocity is probably going to be very solid on this tank for the types of ammo it carries. Now the mobility is really the best part about the tank. It has a top speed of 47 and a reverse speed of 16. Now the reverse speed is just slightly better than your average heavy, but that top speed paired with a power to weight of 21.2 makes this vehicle go on average at 36, which is quite mobile for a heavy tank. 21.2 of a power to weight is pretty similar to your average tier 10 medium. So basically what we're seeing here is a medium mobility combined with a very solid turret and a very solid gun. So well, what's the playstyle? Well, that's where we're going to break into the final part of this tank, and that is its armor profile. Now, the STRV K is a very interesting armor profile. That's the best I can say it. It's the hull armor of a Kron, as I said, and the turret of a Centurion, which means that its armor isn't bad at all. Now, its lower plate is obviously weak, because the Kron's lower plate is weak, but what do you do in a Kron? You run it hull down, and this vehicle has 9 degrees of gun depression in Blitz, meaning that if you're using it hull down, you're going to have quite the good angle on that upper plate, basically making it impervious. If you're a Hori, you're never ever going to penetrate that upper plate, so that's really good. Let's say you're in a map like Himmelsdorf, all you got to do is drive heavy side, wedge your tank up a hill, and you're going to be completely fine. The problem is the turret armor. As you saw, it's 252 thick, which is the same as the turret we're looking at here on World of Tanks PC for the Tier 9 STRV K. What that means is that basically the cheeks on this vehicle are going to be incredibly weak. The mantlet itself, don't worry about this being a weak spot. I've already looked at the armor profile in Blitz, and it's not a weak spot, so don't worry about that. But these cheeks here are going to be a big weak spot, only about 260 thick. Now that means standard ammo, yeah, it'll struggle to penetrate, especially if you're running enhanced armor. However, premium is not going to have any troubles whatsoever. So if you're a decent shot, you're quite easily going to be cutting through the cheeks on this vehicle as well. The turret ring is quite weak, only about 260 thick. You got to realize that most tier 10s have around 330 to 40 millimeters of heat pen as a heavy. So yeah, the armor on this tank, it seems good, but definitely nothing all too reliable. Definitely a big ol' weak spot. Now the roof is actually very strong, as you'll notice. Almost no weak spots unless you're on flat grounds. Then you want to be careful. So this is not like a Kron, where obviously the Kron has that ridiculous armor. For example, an Emil 2 obviously has that same type of upper plate, which is really strong. The difference is that you've got that super thick armor with the Emil, and if you're running that gun depression like it has on PC, you're never going to be penned as long as you hide the hatches. That's really not the case for the STRV K. So it seems like I'm actually happy with this year's Blitz Fair tank. Last year, with the Concept 1B, it's basically a tank that has no weakness. It has no cheeks. It has no weak spot on the roof. It's just an all-round kind of busted vehicle as long as you understand how to play it. And that's why I've got a 90% win rate in my Concept 1B. When it comes to the STRV K, this tank is, well, I would say that it's going to actually have weak spots. I mean, you can see the weak spots. So I'm actually excited for this tank. I know this is a bit of a weird video, and I'm stalling a bit, but I'm just trying to think of how I would play this tank when it's released. And I'm happy with the way it looks, because it seems balanced. It seems like if you don't understand how to play the game, you're going to do absolutely awful in this tank. It's kind of like an Object 260, but you have no side armor. And as well, you have a lot of weak spots everywhere, which is good. I think this is actually a good step for wargaming, so hopefully the tank stays like this. I guess we'll have to find out when it is released. Either way, I'm really excited for this tank. I've always wanted this vehicle to actually come into Blitz, and as the Tier 10 Blitz Fair tank, I think this will be a really sweet vehicle, especially as our first premium Swedish tank. So, not first, but first tier 10. I should add that. So let me know what you guys think about this take in the comments down below. Either way, that's all the statistics, and that's all I got for you. So hopefully you learned a thing or two. Hopefully you're excited for this year's Blitz Fair, because I am, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.